Okay, welcome to part 9. Frito's dead. I'm not gonna yank it around. Frito is dead. I get a call one day from an interested party, and that person said, first thing out of the blue, I said hello. They go, Frito's dead. I was like, wow. I assumed, like I'm sure a lot of you assumed, that somebody poured the lead to Frito, because if there was anybody that ever needed shooting, it was Frito. But that wasn't what happened. Here's the interesting thing about Frito. Frito was a big drug dealer, but Frito was also a big drug user. A lot of the drug dealers, for whatever reason, seem to be drug users. Now, I've never understood this. Now, I understand how you go from being a drug user to a drug dealer to support your habit. I understand that. But from all accounts, Frito was not that type of person. Frito actually started out the drug dealer. And I've never understood how you go from being drug dealer to drug user when you see the effects of those drugs day in and day out. You see what it does to people. You see how low it takes them. How at that point you decide to start doing drugs is beyond me. But Frito apparently loved Oxycontins. And now I don't know this to be fact, so I'm going to tell you right now, I don't know this to be fact, but I have heard that his autopsy showed that he had 18 or 19 Oxycontins in his system when he dropped. And Oxycontin's a killer. In fact, it's the #1 drug-related killer in southeast Kentucky. It's Oxycontins. Apparently, your heart just stops on you. And that's what happened to Frito. I guess he drove home, got out of his car, took 2 steps, and dropped like a stone. He's like 50 years old, 50. Frito was between 50 and 54, somewhere around in there. But he just dropped, unexpectedly just dropped. Now, funny enough, a lot of people claim that I had stressed Frito out to the point where he just couldn't take it, and I somehow they blame me for his death, which is kind of ironic because, no, I do not take claim. I would love to take credit for Frito's demise, but unfortunately that wasn't the case. So Frito just drops. Now, Charles Garland, by the way, by this point, I've watched him move his stuff out of that house. So he's gone from the house. So in the drug house now, there's just little Daniel, which is Frito's son, Frito's daughter, and Frito's wife, the 3 of them. Now, there's still quite a bit of traffic going from the house, so apparently, in that sense, it's business as usual. But here's the best part. I can get my logs out now. I mean, basically, we're running timber to the sawmill. I got paid on my logs. It was a beautiful thing. So, everything kind of changed, and it changed fairly quickly, actually. I no longer had any pressure whatsoever, or at least from that scenario. There was more pressure to come. There's a lot. I'm still in 2005, remember, and I'm still dealing with crap to this day. But yeah, I mean, the logs were coming out. Jerry had paid me the $230 grand that he owed me for the logs, and everything was just perfect. We were running that timber out of there. It was really interesting. In fact, if there is a video on my channel that actually shows them loading up the logs and stuff. So if any of you are really that interested, I think it's My Loggers Hard at Work, it's what it's called. But it's on there. You can check it out. So anyway, things are actually, for the first time since I started this project, going fairly easy. It was amazing relief to me not having, especially Charles Garland, because that was just insane. Now, people had told me, by the way, that I was actually at fault for everything going south. It's never the bad guy's fault. It's, of course, the honest guy's fault. But apparently, I just didn't know how things worked around there. Here's the saying, as somebody told us, they said to me, they said, you might own the land, but you will never own the mountain. And apparently, Frito felt like that was his holler. Even though I owned all the property, he felt like he was the king of the holler. And he did have everybody in that holler scared to death of him. Not necessarily that they thought he would do something, but they thought some of the druggies that he dealt with would do something, and everybody down there is always very worried about having their house burned down in the middle of the night. So apparently it was my fault that I didn't somehow offer him some kind of tribute or cut him in on my timber sale, I don't know, 10% or whatever, him and of course Charles Garland. And Charles, being a young cop, I mean, maybe he felt like, hey, I'm king of this road too, and if you want to dance, you have to pay the piper. And he pretty much thought he was the piper. I don't know, but I'm in retrospect very glad that I did it the way I did it, because somebody has to say no more of this. People give me grief for the things that and I have gotten PMs, by the way, from people in southeast Kentucky saying, I was making the place look bad. No, I'm not making southeast Kentucky look bad. Southeast Kentucky does that just fine on its own. And I say to the people down there, if the good people would just stand up. You know, I had a guy in the holler tell me one time that he prayed every day that Frito would see the light. And that was what he was doing. Instead of calling the law, or instead of doing what I did and called, you know, Frankfurt and all this stuff, instead of doing any of that, he was praying daily that Frito would see the light. And I said one day to him, I said, you know, the good Lord helps those who help themselves. You know. So hopefully they seen the light, and that will never happen again. Hopefully there will never be another drug dealer in that holler, that the people won't allow it. Now that they've seen somebody fight the drug dealers, hopefully they've learned from that. You know, not that my fight is anywhere over with the drug dealers in that area, because believe me, it's not. It's really, there's more. Frito may be dead, but there's more buffoons, drug dealing slime balls that come out into the future. Now, my buddy Scott, who you know from the previous video, he's in town now. It's holiday weekend, Thanksgiving weekend, and he's going to be here till Sunday, so I don't know if I'm going to be able to get another video out till next week. And then, shortly after he actually leaves, I need to go back down to Kentucky because Pinhead, I got a call the other day from a guy that I pay to watch over things for me, and he told me that Pinhead's loggers, because Pinhead's having his property logged, is very close to my property line on the other side of the mountain. Now, I sold the 482-acre tract. I sold that timber to Jury, as you know. But I had two other tracts, and one was a 50-acre tract that happens to be an adjoiner to Pinhead's over on that side of the mountain. So apparently, they're making a run on my timber, so I've got to go down there and do whatever I can do to protect my my property. So it's going to be tough for me to keep this going for very much longer, but I will from time to time, you know, doing, you know, part 10, part 11, part 12, part 13. There's so much more to this story. I haven't even got into, because I mean, yeah, Frito's dead, but now I'm suing the Lamberts, and not only them, but I'm also suing Charles Garland, even though he's not living in the house anymore, over the whole fence deal. And there's a pretty interesting story regarding that. And Frito's loot. You know, Frito just dropped like a stone one day. Of course, he never told his family where he had hidden his money. A lot of speculation that it was buried on my property, and I'll tell you a little bit about that, which is kind of interesting. But when Frito died, you know, it was so unexpectedly that, you know, because drug dealers can't just put their money in the bank. They hide it, they bury it, you know. And from all accounts, Frito had a piss pot full of cash buried. And most likely buried on my property. So I will definitely explore that video, and I think you'll find that interesting. I may even call that video part whatever Frito's loot, because it's kind of interesting. But anyway, I hope everybody had a great Thanksgiving. And like I said, you know, it's good. The videos will be a little sparse from this point on until I get back from Kentucky. And from that point, we can, yeah, I can just believe me, because I'm still in 2005, and there's a lot going on now. And like I said, obviously, it looks to be that Pinhead's trying to steal my timber, you know, so I don't know. But anyway, everybody take care, and I will see you soon.